All right, let's talk MIG welders. Now, one of the reasons everybody starts with MIG welding is because it's one of the easiest processes to get started with. It's super versatile and it's really useful when you're working on cars. But choosing a MIG welder in this market can be tough. There's a ton of different features that you may or may not need. Let's break down our options when it comes to MIG welders and help you choose the perfect unit for you. There's a couple main things we look out for when buying a welder. Number one is the welding amperage. Usually that's denoted by the number in the name on the side of the welder. So the MIG 90 is a 90 amp welder, the MIG 140 is a 140 amp welder, and so on. You guys get it. That basically translates to the thickness of the metal you can weld without sacrificing penetration in the metal. The second thing you need to consider is warranty. Eastwood welders are backed by a 3-year, no-hassle warranty. So if something happens to your machine, we got you covered, and we'll replace it or fix the issue. Lastly, you want to know what power you have at your shop. Some welders only require 120 volts, which is a standard household outlet, and some welders need 240 volts. So before purchasing anything, make sure you can actually use it. The MIG 90 is our smallest unit. This is great for the DIYer and the beginner who is not welding on super thick metal. Let's talk about some of the stats on this guy. It's 90 amps, which means you can weld up to 1/8 inch thick steel and stainless, but where this machine really excels, it's the ability to weld sheet metal. I always consider welders' capabilities in terms of what it can weld on a car. So for this unit, let's stick to sheet metal. You're probably not going to be fixing a crack in your frame, but you'll be able to knock out a patch panel in no time. Now, I don't want to downplay this machine too much. It can still weld to 1/8 inch thick steel, which for a lot of you guys, if you're putting a bumper on a Jeep, whatever it may be, it's still going to come in handy and it's still going to be able to get the job done. This is super light, coming in at about 15 pounds, so moving this around the shop or to a buddy's house is seriously a breeze. It's got a 25% duty cycle at the full 90 amps. Since you're probably going to be welding sheet metal or thinner steel with this machine, it's probably not going to stop you from completing your project in a timely manner. This machine's going to run off the standard 120 volts, so no special power required to your garage. Another really nice benefit to this machine is that the unit can run off of solid core wire and gas, or you can use flux core wire when your bottle is empty or you're doing some welding outside where the wind would blow away your gas. Lastly, this machine uses standard Tweco style consumables and accepts 023 to 030 wire, which again is what you want for those thinner materials. All around, this welder is incredibly flexible, great for the beginner, and honestly a great price for what you're getting. Our next welder is one of the most popular for a reason. Our MIG 140 is our most powerful 120 volt unit. So it still plugs into your standard household outlet, but we bump up the welding amperage all the way up to 140 amps on this machine. That means it can weld that super thin 24 gauge sheet metal all the way up to 3/16 steel. That means you can start getting into thicker repairs like frames, bumpers, brackets, and more. Again, this unit is pretty light at about 25 pounds, and given that it's a 120 volt unit, it's easy to travel with and use wherever there's power. This unit has an impressive 30% duty cycle for those longer weld beads that you'd be doing with this machine, and it won't overheat the unit and slow you down. It'll accept 023 wire for sheet metal all the way up to 035 for that thicker gauge materials. And the torch even uses the standard Tweco style consumables. I forgot to mention this before, but the reason those Tweco style consumables are so nice is because you can actually go grab these at your local welding supply store or eastwood.com. Some added benefit to this unit is the 2T and 4T settings. 2T is your standard trigger operation. You pull the trigger to start an arc, weld, and when you're finished welding, release the trigger. This is what most people are going to use in their day-to-day welding operation. 4T is a nice little cruise control mode. You pull the trigger to start the arc, release the trigger, and you can continue your weld. When you're done welding, pull the trigger again, and then release the trigger to stop the weld. You also get a really cool tack weld feature on the MIG 140. With that enabled, the machine will only weld for about a half a second for a super consistent tack weld. This unit is also capable of hooking up to a spool gun for welding aluminum. Grab a bottle of argon and a spool gun, and you'll be able to weld up to 3/16 inch aluminum in no time. This unit also has the ability to run flux core wire, which means there isn't a whole lot you can't do with it. The last thing I love about this machine is the metal drive roller. It really gives it a super smooth operation and just overall increases the durability. All right, so you're saying to yourself, what if I want to weld heavier gauge material? Or this might not be enough for me down the road. Well, we have the perfect machine for you. The MIG 180 is a dual voltage machine, so you can weld at 120 volts or 240 volts. Great for the person who might not have 240 volts in their shop yet, but wants to get it down the road. On the 120 volts, you can still weld up to that 3/16 inch steel, same as the MIG 140, but on the 240 volts, you can actually weld up to 5/16 inch steel and stainless. And if you're looking to weld that thick, you already know what you need it for. The rest of the features of this machine are very similar to the MIG 140. You can use the 2T and 4T modes as well as the tack weld feature. It accepts the same wire sizes and uses the same Tweako style consumables. Even though this unit is more powerful than the 140, it still comes in right at around 26 pounds, so super portable. This unit also has the ability to run Flux Core wire, which means there isn't a whole lot you can't do with it. One of my favorite things about this welder is there's actually an option to purchase it with the spool gun or without. But keep in mind, you get a little discount when you bundle them together, so if you ever think you might weld aluminum, you should grab the package. So this unit is definitely going to be great for the more serious fabricators or the person looking to grow in the future. But our biggest welder is definitely the best of the best. The MIG 250 is a proven workhorse. We always joke that this is what you want when you want to fix a bridge. Maybe not, but it will definitely weld up to half-inch thick steel and stainless. If you've ever welded on a car, you know that means there isn't a single thing that this welder can't handle. This unit is also a dual voltage machine, so when you're running off the 120 volts, it can weld up to about 140 amps, so right around that 3/16 inch thick material. But on the 240 volts, this thing can weld up to that half-inch thick material. My favorite thing about this unit is the duty cycle. The 60% at 250 amps means you can weld for 6 minutes straight and only have to let it cool for 4 minutes. And if you've ever welded for that long, well, you're a professional welder because that doesn't happen often. This will accept wire from 023, again, great for sheet metal, all the way up to 045 for that super thick stuff. The Traphomite style torch is an absolute beast, and you can find all the consumables at eastwood.com or your local welding supply stores. It has that same metal drive roller for smooth operation and longevity, which is what you need for a machine like this. Again, you can use a spool gun with this machine for welding aluminum. The last thing about this unit that I love is the extra long torches and ground cables. This allows you to move all the way around your project without having to stop, move your cart every single time. A couple more things I wanted to mention about these machines. Like I said before, they all come with a 3-year warranty, so you know that we stand behind our products. All of them are the latest inverter technology, so they are all relatively light, but also can be run on a generator. So working outside on farm equipment or at the racetrack is not an issue. If you're looking for units that can MIG weld, but also offer TIG and arc welding options, then you should check out our line of multi-process welders. Don't forget, we have a ton of videos on these products, plus all of our multi-process welders, TIG welders, and arc welders. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to check them out. Thank you for watching, guys, and keep wrenching. We'll see you next time.